What's up, guys? Welcome back. Amazing RC, Brian here, and today we're going to start off that cool little video series I was telling you about how to do a good basic to intermediate custom Hot Wheels car. This is going to be basically everything from just swapping out a set of wheels to actually getting the car back into the package really nice, full paint. I'm going to show you how to do just about everything that I've learned over the last year, and I've learned quite a bit. And the cool thing about that is any of you out there that are watching this and you see something that you do differently, or it's faster, better, stronger, or looks better, I still enjoy learning, so you got to let me know exactly what you do and how you do it. I think that would be very, very cool. So comment section is yours, as well as any questions that you may have along the way. In this video, just going to tell you how to take stuff apart. Everything from getting a car out of the package without hurting the package, or taking the car completely apart via the rivets underneath, kind of what to look out for with your different types of cars, what to use in taking them apart, what to use in taking the card apart, as well as trying to get the label out of a premium card. This is going to be for Will Thompson, and I still have to do this one yet, so these are always really scary, and I'll tell you why here in just a minute. And the reason you might even want to save the card, like here's a premium card I did, it's a Porsche, but the reason you want to save the card in some of these cases is you might want to make a cool display. This is an old M2 display, but if you want to change where it says whatever card the M2 car was in here to something else, you can use the bottom of the card, and you just kind of cut it out, and later on in the video series I'll show you how to make a really nice, almost like a faux acrylic. It almost looks like glass, but I'll show you how to do it with some really cool Gorilla Glue to really make your label stand out. But in this video, we got to go through the boring stuff first, and it's basically how to take everything apart. So first, you got to get the car out of the package. Sure, if you're going to do a wheel swap and it's going to sit in your display open, you can just tear this thing out. To be honest with you, I like to save the cards anyway, whether I'm going to use the card or not, because when I do things like gluing the chassis back together or gluing up a set of brass axles and new wheels, which is what I'm doing on my dad's car right now. When you do that, I like to be able to put the glue on something and then maybe use a toothpick to pull little tiny bits of glue out. And I use the cards. These are really good. The glue doesn't go through them, whether you're using, CA glue or Gorilla Glue. It doesn't really matter. Super glue. It stays on top of the card. And then you can just toss the card. So I keep all the cards anyway. But most of the time I reuse them for displays. The label's going to be used on this one for my dad's car. A bunch of this card is going to be used. This is the treasure hunt card that's going to my buddy Jason's car. A bunch of this card's going to be used. This is going over to another friend of mine's car, doing the really cool Impala for him. So, getting it out of the package. I've seen this done a couple different ways, but I'm a cheapo and try to save as much money as possible, so I don't go through like 3 gallons of nail polish remover a week. I used a paintbrush, and I'll basically just pull this stuff out and paint where I know the bubble is. And the biggest part that you really want to get as much of this on is this bottom run here, because you want the card to separate while still leaving the ink on the card, so you still have the ability to pull that title off and actually have it on another display, as a really nice label. So you're really going to want to be nice and liberal on here, but I've seen people dumping this stuff out and it's just rolling off the card, and I don't think that's that necessary, especially in a card that's within the last couple years as far as being printed. I have run into some of the older cards, like if the card's 10 years old, it wants to be a little less easy to just be able to peel off. But this is not hard to do, very simple. If you have any questions on that, let me know. Now, as far as the premium labels, you cannot just paint the back of this card. This actually needs to be soaked, and I still need to do it. So we're going to do it. We're going to do it now. All I do is I just take a pair of pliers here, and I get it and even though I'm not using a bunch of that label front and back of the Mitsubishi portion, I want to soak that whole thing anyway, because you have to get the plastic part to peel. You want to do it from the beginning of the plastic part. Don't chop it off to where you got a nice fine line. You don't really want to do that, but you really want to get this thing in here to soak for a little while, and eventually it'll start to peel. It'll start to peel off, and just peel a very tiny little bit and see how it's working, and it's already starting to come off nicely. So yeah, I'm gonna soak it a little bit more here. But instead of just painting it on the back, you don't want to do that, because it's not gonna make it. The card's a lot thicker, and you're not gonna make it all the way through that card. So we'll get it in here, soak nicely. Here we go. Now let's see if we might be able to pull some of this off here, and you'll know if it's coming off. Nice, that popped right off. This side here, wait for it. Perfect. Now, sometimes it's not going to be perfect. This came out better than a lot of them. A lot of times it'll pull some of this black off. And in this one, it actually pulled just a hair of the black off above Mitsubishi, to be honest with you. Little black Sharpie, perfect. I am very happy with how this came out. But as you've seen, I'm just dipping it in there, letting it soak for a minute or two, pulling it out, and then you should be able to remove that piece of plastic. Then you're just drying it. Set it somewhere where it can get some air, preferably on something that doesn't react to, I guess my coffee will work, doesn't, react to nail polish remover. So that's getting the labels off. Now you know how to get it to where you can get a real nice cool label for your display. If you're not going to do that, just tear it out of the card. You can still use it for the gluey thing, to put your glue on. But like here's Jason's. I want to get the cool treasure hunt symbol on the display somewhere. Of course we're going to use the label of the Batmobile, and I'm going to use a bunch of this card. Sometimes I use the whole car, and I'll put that on the back of the display. Later videos, I'll show you how to do that. Getting into a car. Now, you got three really different types of cars here. You've got a regular car, which as of the last 10, 15 years has a plastic bottom and a die-cast metal top. That means that the rivets are going to be metal. So very simple. 9/16 to 11/16 right in there somewhere. Make sure they're sharp. If you're going to repaint the car, take your wedding ring off, any rings you have over here, because when you have this car flipped over in your hand and you're holding on to it, you do run the risk of scratching it with maybe a wedding ring or any other type of jewelry. So take that off. You always want to be very careful about your hand as well. When I do this, I'm not putting any kind of pressure on this at all. The pressure from the weight of the drill on its own is enough. And each one of these deserves a little different technique. Plastic bottom, metal top, normal car, is kind of what I'll show you here in a second. Then you've got a premium car, and this has a little bit thicker die-cast top and a better rivet. It's a little different. Then you have the one that's going to surprise you if you're not paying attention. Some of these cars have metal bottoms and plastic tops. That means that rivet is plastic. And if you even set this on here and hit it, it's just going to drive it straight through the front of that car. You might not go into your hand, but at that point it really doesn't matter, because you just ruin the whole entire car. These, you really have to be careful with. A lot of times you're not going to run into a plastic top, but I just did a treasure hunt car that had a plastic top and a metal bottom. So these you have to be very careful with. You almost might want to grab a Dremel with just a little tiny Dremel bit, maybe like a little tiny round Dremel head, and kind of get in there and work that plastic out. You should be able to pull these apart pretty easy. So plastic is special on its own right. Will Thompson's car, this is a premium car. The rivet's gonna give you a little bit more. It's got a little bit more substance to it. As long as you're not pushing down really hard, and giving it all kinds of crazy, you just want to get it started out right in the center, nice and slow. Make sure that the drill bit seats in the center of the rivet, because if it walks at all, it's just going to stay wherever it walked to. But make sure that you get in there real nice. Like I said, nice and you know, sharp bit. You're just working it out just enough to where it'll pop through the rivet. You know, the rivet's done by pressure. You know, it's a little cylinder of metal, and when it stamps it, it flattens the head out. You're just going to kind of get that lip off, and you can do that with just a drill bit. I'm sure there's other ways to do it if there are, and you know of any, and it's easier than doing it this way, or looks better, or whatever. Let me know. Like I said, comment section's yours. Very simple. Drill bit gets you in there. Just remember, you got 3 different types of cars. Beware of the plastic top car. It will surprise you, and you're going to be inside this thing and hoping that you didn't put a hole through your hand. As far as taking things apart, that's pretty much it. In the next video, we're going to start working on chassis. I'm going to show you guys how I basically blow out the whole bottom of the chassis here to get real big fatty fat tires in here, because if you don't do that, it's just going to be riding on top of, it's going to look goofy. And you know, you don't want it to look goofy, of course, plus it's not going to work right. So I'm going to show you how I get in here. I got a really cool technique with a little square dowel. I just basically get in there and shave this thing out. So this is getting axles tonight. But we're going to go through basically getting the car ready for paint. Getting the axles done, the wheels, everything completely glued together to where it's ready to strip and paint. And then once that's done, you can put it back together and you're ready to go. Then there will be a display video on how we get the displays going. There will be a card video on how to get it back into a card. I use just a very tiny bit of Gorilla Glue for that, and you can't even tell that you took the card apart. So, like I said, if you guys have any questions about taking stuff apart, let me know. If there's something I didn't cover, if you got any comments on how to do things better than I just did, or a little less scary, because I'll tell you, these premium labels, they're always scary. They scare me a lot. But Will Thompson, I got it. Can't wait to get that one going. It's Brian, Amazing RC. Get you guys another cool video very, very soon.